Vine stood in front of a mirror as she clad herself in a red mermaid dress that reached down below her ankles. It hugged her body so well, providing definition to her curves. Her wavy hair fell loose over her shoulders as she applied mascara. She heard the shower running. It was her husband who had just came home. It had been 2 weeks they got married. It was no love marriage. They got in this relation after the typical business marriages for benefit and partnership. Although she was somehow hesitant around Jungkook, but slowly the man made her comfortable. Jungkook had a personality to remain calm in every condition. Throughout 2 weeks of staying with him, Wine hardly saw him reflecting any emotion or expression. He was good with words, gentle towards her, but his face stayed stoic and devoid of expressions. Her heartbeat rose up when the shower stopped running, and within a few moments, the man was out. He was clad in a bathrobe and a towel drying his hair, chest on display and eyes on her. With the intensity he stared at her, she thought she might explode. She put the lipstick down after getting done with her makeup and turned towards him, who now stood in front of her. They were going for a dinner over at Jungkook's friend, Lime, and Wine was already uncomfortable about how Lime looks at her, but she had not said a word about it because what if she was misunderstanding it? Jungkook kissed her cheek, his touch so soft yet authoritative, and her heart might not warn at her to jump out had he shown a little smile. Jungkook, everything about you makes me proud of having you as my wife. He leaned in and kissed the corner of her lips as his finger trailed down her neck. Jungkook, give me 10 minutes and we are leaving, he said as he pulled back just like that and disappeared in the closet as if nothing happened. She put a hand on her heart, taking a deep breath, and took a seat wearing her heels and perfume. Once the two were done, they left for the dinner. Jungkook greeted his friend who invited them over for dinner. As Lime hugged Jungkook, his eyes fell on Wyan. Jungkook couldn't see because his back faced her, but Wyan did. The lustful look in his eyes made her so uncomfortable she instantly shifted her gaze away, taking a mental note of discussing it with her husband once they returned home. Lion put on his gentle smile when greeting Ryan and escorted the two in. Lime, you two just got married. I hope I didn't disturb you. Jungkook, that's fine. We were leaving for the honeymoon next week anyways. Jungkook said casually and Ryan almost choked on her drink. He never discussed it with her. Did he even plan it beforehand or suddenly got the idea of going to honeymoon? Ryan preferred staying quiet as the two talked about business and then they had dinner. She saw Jungkook going out to take a phone call and she didn't want to stay alone with Lime at all, so she excused herself to washroom. But what she didn't know, Lime would tail after her and forcefully push her in. She never once thought he would go that far, especially when her husband was still around. Her eyes widened up as she tried to pry him off. Wine, leave me alone. Jungkook. Lime, he won't come. Not yet. I know him and his phone calls better. He laughed as he held her hands behind her back and pinned her against the wall. Her heartbeat got so fast out of fear as she tried to kick him only to receive a slap in return. It stung so bad that her eyes teared up and she tried to scream for Jungkook. Lime forced a hand on her mouth to keep her quiet and started to touch her inappropriately. He was too strong she could barely move against his hold. Tears fell down her cheeks as she prayed that Jungkook would notice both of them gone, and as if her prayers were heard, she heard the doorknob rotating. Jungkook, I give you 2 seconds to open the door, Lime, or I will make sure you won't be able to use any of your organ ever again. And I am not bluffing because you were my friend. Liam stopped, grit his teeth as he wrapped his hand around Ryan's neck. Lime, it isn't end here, sweetheart. He will give you to me himself. He wiped her tears that came out once again. She was so scared that her whole body was shaking by the point. She hated how she couldn't hide her weakness in front of him. He opened the door, stepping away, and Jungkook pushed him out of his way. His eyes fell on Ryan. The slap mark on her cheek, face filled with tears, and the strap of her dress off her shoulder was enough to boil his blood. He walked towards her and wrapped his coat around her. Once he took her outside, he helped her sit and he kissed her forehead and walked back inside. Lime, you won't fight with me over a lady. Jungkook, that lady is my wife. Lime, so what? You didn't want to marry her. It's a business marriage that hardly holds any importance. We can even share her. He was not able to finish the sentence when Jungkook punched him across his face so hard that Lime easily lost a tooth. Jungkook pounced upon him so badly without a care of saving their friendship. Lime hardly stood any chance against him. Jungkook hit him till his face was morphed into something unrecognizable. The man was near to death, hardly breathing or moving, laying on the ground. Jungkook then knelt beside him and grabbed his collar. Jungkook, that's for touching my wife and not knowing me well even after 4 years of being together. You will need a surgery and hope that you will get a hospital bed for as long as you can. Jungkook, because once you get out of there, I will make sure you won't have a shelter on your head and a bed under you to sleep. Jungkook stood up and left. While all the energy that was left in Lime, he tried to call him because he knew Jungkook was not kidding at all. Jungkook washed his blood-filled hands and fixed his composure before walking out. Wine had a glass of water held tightly in her hand, and she was not crying or shaking anymore. But she looked so fragile, Jungkook blamed himself for not being able to protect her well. He took her out of there and had her sit in the back seat of car and got beside her. Jungkook, look at me. He cupped her cheeks and Wine sworn the emotions in his eyes were the most she has ever gotten to see. He was worried and guilty. Jungkook, I'll make sure this won't happen ever again, and he will pay for it. His voice was so soft, Antarctica would melt. He kissed the red mark on her cheek and gently pulled her in his embrace, brushing fingers through her hair. They stayed there for as long as she wanted. He kept his protective hold around her, and she snuggled in his embrace like she found her home. It was a feeling of warmth and affection. She thought she could face the whole world if her husband was with her, and Jungkook made sure he kept his promise to Lime. The man was met with runes, and he showered Ryan with affection and protection.